정답이 나옵니다. 이제 문제가 쉬운 게 많았어요. 근데 적어내진 않았습니다. 어려운 게 몇 개 있었고요.
Este ritmo musical proviene de donde vengo yo. This come from where I come from. So tutti insieme, ¿cómo se llama este ritmo musicale? What is the name? Bravo, bravo, bravo.
브라보, 브라보.
Perfetto. Andiamo avanti con il numero 2.
도스 2번. 이런 이제 애니메이션 팀에는 브라질 친구들이 많아서
Anche questa era facile. Signores y señoras, ¿cómo se llama este ritmo musicale? What is the name of this one?
Bachata. Bachata.
Bachata.
no.
Samba.
살사.
Señores y señoras, ladies and
Salsa.
gentlemen, we are talking about este ritmo musicale era salsa.
살사.
No bachata, no samba, salsa.
쌀사였구나. 쌈반 줄 알았네.
Perfecto. Andiamo avanti con la numero 3, number 3.
드레스. 뜬뜬뜬. 이건 알죠. 탱고.
Este ritmo es bello. Con sapel.
탱고.
Ma tutti siamo bravi oggi.
네, 다 알죠
¿Cuántos
이거.
ganadores are we going to have? How many winners? Mamma mia! Perfetto, yeah, we are talking about tango. Perfetto, un bello ritmo musicale. Quindi le prochaine c'est le numero 4.
4. 왈츠죠.
Qué bonito. Señoras, this one also was really easy. Très facile. ¿Cómo saber what's the name of this rhythm musical?
Vienes vals.
왈츠.
Vals.
Vals.
Exactamente. Nous parlons de le vals. We are going
Vals라
to talk
그러는구나.
about, we were
Vals.
listening vals. Perfecto. Fuerte el aplauso, fuerte. Muy bien.
Muy
Seguimos
bien.
con la siguiente, the next one.
All of my love, all of my kissing, you don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. Oh boy, when they go to me, oh boy. Oh boy, the world say that.
I don't know if you know
All my life I've been waiting, and I
미국 노래죠, 미국.
hesitate no more.
컨트리 뮤직 같은 자이브?
Come signori? Rock and roll. Exactamente
Rock
was
and roll.
rock and roll.
우리 할머니 또 맞췄어요. 락큰롤. 네.
This was, ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. But okay, normal to have one that can be a bit confusing perché sennò tutti è facile, no? È
네, 채점이 벌써
Quindi la
끝났습니다.
siguiente, Alexa, prego.
이건 뭔지 모르겠어요, 이게. 이게 쌈바인가? 쌈바? 아.
domanda, de dove proviene questo ritmo musicale?
Brasile.
Desde Brasil.
Brasile.
Quindi anche con sapel
Samba.
Very good. Forte applauso for everyone.
Samba.
We were listening samba from Brazil. So please, the next one.
Algo se muere en el alma cuando un amigo se va.
아, 이거 그거죠. 플라멩고.
Algo se va, algo se muere en el alma cuando un amigo se va. Algo se muere en el alma cuando un amigo se va. Cuando un amigo se va, va dejando una huella que no se puede borrar.
이게 아니 뭐더라?
Muchas gracias. Señores, what we were listening? ¿Qué cosa es? ¿Cómo se llama?
Flamenco.
플라멩고 맞죠?
Exactamente.
플라멩고.
From Spain, desde España, flamenco. Y seguimos con la siguiente.
다음 거. 재즈였나?
Vediamo. Qualcuno sabe? Foxtrot. Señores, Foxtrot. Exactamente, ladies and gentlemen, we were listening to Foxtrot.
포크야?
Muy bien, très très bien. S'appelle Foxtrot. La siguiente,
그래.
por favor. Questa è facile. Ovviamente, ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious. This one is bachata.
바차타.
Arte como te amo es complicado. Pensar como te pienso es un pecado. Mirar como te miro.
Questa era facile. This one was très facile. Was really easy. So now, the last one. La ultima, andiamo avanti con la
이런 것도
ultima.
뭐 아주 어렵지는 않은 것 같고 저처럼 무식한 사람은 잘 모르겠지만 그냥 즐겁습니다. 노래 나오니까.
Perfecto. También esta fue muy fácil. Also, this one was a really easy to guess it. So, ladies and gentlemen, madame y monsieur, come s'appelle, what's the name of this musical rhythm? Reggae.
Reggae.
Exactamente.
Ah,
From Jamaica,
reggae.
we were listening reggae. Quindi adesso, prego, Chiara. Si vous
네,
plaît.
이렇게 음악 퀴즈를 풀어봤습니다.
야야야.
네,
La prima squadra che inizia la
여기서
Primière.
팀을 뽑습니다. 일단
Lyon.
Lyon.
L'équipe Lyon.
리온 저쪽이겠지, 프랑스겠지.
C'est où? Perfetto. Allora, madame, che categorie you choisi? Choisi. Music? Ok, vai con la musica, music.
아, 저기서 고르는 거야?
Vediamo. Ok, che numero?
여기서 번호를 또 고르네요.
Da 1 à 15. 2. Numero 2.
두에
Dos. Allora, chi è la rockstar con gli occhi differenti l'uno dall'altro? Which rockstar was two different color eyes? Che le vede you rock les you different uno dall'altro? Che estrella del rock tiene differente color del suo occhio su uno dall'altro?
랍스타 중에 누가 눈이 컬러가
Qual è la
다르지?
réponse? Qual è la réponse? Ok, vediamo quanti
뽑아서
punti.
문제를 푸는 거구나.
Questa question vale 4 points.
4점짜리.
Questa domanda vale 4 punti. Pensiamo. Tac, tic, tac. Una persona, una rockstar. Che colore è? Una rockstar. You know. What? No. Elvis.
아주 지루하게 진행을 하고 있죠. 보시면 아주 지루합니다.
Freddy, vai, Freddie Mercury. Ok? Vediamo, è Freddie Mercury?
데이빗 보이.
I David Bowie.
데이빗 보이였습니다. 뭐 이런 식으로 진행을 하는 겁니다.
Ok, merci beaucoup.
또 뽑겠죠, 그러면?
Passa nada, tranquilla. Vamos a un applauso, un big applauso. E andiamo con il prossimo. Vamos con Lucky Draw. Lucky Draw. Dove vai?
또 뽑습니다.
I millennial, ragazzi.
이 밀레니아.
Allora, che categoria
트리비아에
preferite?
잘 참여하는
What
팀입니다, 저기.
categories you prefer? Che categorie?
카테고리를 고르고
Cultura.
풀투라.
Cultura.
풀투라를 뽑았네. 그리고 또 번호를 택하겠죠?
Ok, un numero da 1 a 15, al
Culture.
numero 1 a 15. 10, numero 10.
10.
In che anno venne sigla? Scusate, ho sbagliato. 10.
How many
Quante volte
times
un
should
musulmano deve pregare in
Muslim
direzione
pray
della
in?
Mecca?
아하.
How many times
아하,
should go
5번이죠, 이거.
Good? Sì.
네,
Muslim
5번으로
pray in
알고
direction
있습니다.
of the Mecca.
네, how many times should good Muslim pray in direction of the Mecca? 하루에 5번 맞나? 4번인가? 5번인가? 그죠? 5번 맞죠?
vale 6
6점짜리입니다.
Ok. No, ho sbagliato. Che passo? No, che passo. Back.
왜 이렇게 진행이 아주 미숙하죠? 뭐야?
C'è un problemino tecnico. Del problem solving, dammi. 8 punti. Hanno già dato la risposta. Prega 5 volte.
8점짜리야?
Hanno già dato. 5.
5 맞아, 5.
5 vai! Avete vinto 8 punti. Bravissimi.
또 뽑습니다.
Chateau.
샤또모또 이쪽이네. 네, 다 프랑스 쪽만 뽑네.
Allora, che categorie? Cuisine.
큐진. 어떤 문제가 나올까요?
Numero 7.
What is the
Qual è
main
il
fruit
futuro della base della salsa del guacamole? Guacamole. Which is the main fruit for the
guacamole sauce.
guacamole sauce?
과카몰레 소스가
¿Cuál
뭐야?
es el ingrediente principal a la base de la salsa guacamole? ¿Cuál es el fruto de la base de la salsa del guacamole?
2점짜리야? 과카몰레가 뭔지 몰라요.
L'avocado.
아보카도.
Vamos a ver. Vediamo. Avocado.
자, 뮤직.
Indovina il film. Qui dobbiamo ascoltare.
movie.
Écoutez.
영화.
Listen the music. 2 punti. Signora che non ho sbagliato.
어디 영화지?
Non sbagliare. Ce l'avete? Ehi, mi raccomando.
이게 어디 영화 나왔던 노래야? 디즈니 쪽인가?
Ok, ce l'hanno. Allora, la risposta? Harry Potter! E questa? Oh! Harry Potter!
해리포터가 뭔가 했네. 아유.
Uno.
진 1번.
In che nazione europea
유로피언
viene
컨트리 비어
prodotta
하이네켄.
birra?
아, 이건 너무 쉽다.
In which European country beer Heineken is produced?
너무 쉬워,
Dans
너무
che
쉬워.
paese
아.
europeo on produit la beer Heineken? E in che paese dell'Europa si produce la cerveza
네덜란드
Heineken?
이거 모르는 사람 있으려나?
Vediamo quanti punti. 2 punti. Da qua. Allora, hanno già la risposta, dicono Olanda. La response is Olanda, the answer is Olanda.
올란다라 그래? 네덜란드. 올란다라고 하구나. 네, 이 스토리 나왔습니다.
9. Allora,
Which
quale altro
animal-
animale veniva mummificato oltre al gatto nell'antico Egitto? Which other
Ancient
animal was
Egypt.
mummified in addition to the cat in ancient Egypt? Quel autre animale che l'a chat était mummifié dans l'Égypte ancienne?
Ah.
Che altro animale è
고양이하고.
No, mummificava junto a los gatos en el antiguo Egipto.
고양이하고 뱀이었나?
Birds, uccello. I punti, vamos a ver i primi punti. 6 points. 6 puntos. Uccello, birds.
6점짜리인데 고양이 어치야? 마우스였어? 아하.
Perché il gatto mangiava il topo.
6점이면 어려운 문제였습니다. 네.
Ok, andiamo avanti.
다 키친이에요,
Che
다.
numero? Numero 13.
13.
Number 13. Allora, qual è
Which is
il
the
peso
maximum
massimo
weight
per
for
un uovo di
ostrich
struzzo?
egg? 아,
Which is the maximum age for ostrich egg? Che è le
타조알.
maximum buffo Destruction. F destruction. Quel es el peso máximo del nuevo de Aversus? Vamos a ver il punteggio, vediamo i punti, 2 punti, 2 points.
포인트.
Qual è la risposta secondo voi? 2 kg? Dicono 2 kg.
2kg야?
Vediamo.
네, 있어요. 1.5kg야.
1,5 kg.
그래도 무겁네요. 다 좋아해.
Grazie mille love. Thank you so much. Vamos con la hydro. The number.
네,
Numero.
히스토리 나왔습니다. 다시.
5. 5. Allora, qual è stato l'americano che nel 1848 fu caratterizzato
캘리포니아
dalla
아니야.
febbre del
캘리포니아.
What American state would say the first major gold rush in
캘리포니아.
1848 e nel 1848 che è stato americano che la fine dell'oro B no
요건 몇 점짜릴까요?
1848 que l'État américain a vécu les premières grandes rues vers le nord. Secondo voi? Grondai con la K, Grondai. Destato.
몇 점짜리냐?
Lei dice che sta su. Si stanno decidendo, sono americani e tedeschi. Vediamo il punteggio. Vediamo per il punteggio. 10 points.
10 포인트야?
Colorado? You're sure?
콜로라도야?
Sicuro anche tu? Ti fidi?
메이저 골드러치인데?
Colorado?
캘리포니아지. 야, 저게 10점이나 돼? 저 쉬운 게?
Adesso andiamo. California. Da Florida.
네.
The number 15. Vai Alexandra.
뮤지카.
15.
또 리듬을 들어야 돼.
Questo è il ritmo. Indovina il ritmo. E tutto. Listen.
여기 있죠?
Entre flores, fandanguillo y alegría,
뭐야 이거?
España, la tierra del amor. Solo Dios pudiera hacer tanto belleza, y es imposible que puedan haber dos. Y todo el mundo sabe que es verdad, y lloran cuando tienen que marchar. Por eso se oye este refrán, que viva España, y siempre la recordarán. Que viva España.
Allora, la madame dice tango. Vediamo il punteggio, vamos a vedere il punteggio, miramos a 6 points, 6 points, 6 points. E the answer is tango. La risposta è tango.
파스더블?
Adesso le
처음 들어봅니다. 파스더블.
ai ai.
파스더블에
Ok, thank you so much. Wow.
처음 들어보는
Vamos
파스더블레.
con il lucky draw.
뮤직은 어려워. 또 뽑아? 와,
Vai, oh.
또 뮤직이야.
Prima la signora. 13, numero fortunato. Vediamo. Indovina il titolo della canzone del Maroon 5
song. 모르지, 저 사람들이.
Maroon 5 song. Vai signora, indovina il titolo del chanson del Maroon 5. Indovina il titolo della canzone del Maroon 5. 2 punti, 2 points, 2 puntos, 2 points.
그치? 요 노랜데.
Era Maps! Ma niente!
Maps.
Ma niente! Avevo detto non ho idea il titolo. Però un applauso, big applause, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Ok, vamos.
뽑아.
Dai draw.
아따 기네.
Che numero?
아 이거는 무릎도
9.
있네요 이렇게. 아하. Which very
Quale
famous
famosissimo rapper è
rapper
stato arrestato a
has
20
been
anni?
arrested
Which very famous rapper
years
was
old.
been arrested at
20살에 어렸을
20 years old. Que les célèbres pour été arrêté à l'âge de 20 ans. Que famoso
Eminem?
rapero ha sido arrestato a los 20 años? Vediamo i punti. 10 punti. Pensiamoci. Perfetto. Allora. C'è un aiutino. Ah, abbiamo anche un aiuto. Vamos. Allora, spazio. M, spazio, N. Spazio, spazio. Eminem.
에미넴
Signori,
맞잖아.
the answer
에미넴.
is Eminem. La risposta
네,
is
맞아.
Eminem. Oh, Eminem.
10점이야, 저게?
Bravissimi, 10 punti, 10 points.
도대체
10 puntos.
왜 10점이나 주는지 알 수가 없네. 또 여기는 직원이 계속 적어요. 예.
Andiamo avanti.
점수 적구만.
Lucky draw.
또 럭키 들어와.
Oh,
히스토리다.
che numero? Cancer. 5, 5.
One,
Cancer? Quinta, ok. Quale fu la prima città ad avere la metropolitana?
London,
What was
London.
the first city to have the subway? Quelle étaient les premières villes à avoir le métro?
London입니다,
Che fu la
London.
prima città ad avere la metro? Il metro. Allora, vediamo i punti. 6 points.
6점짜리.
E la loro risposta, le risposte? Londra!
네, 런던 맞아요.
Oh!
런던.
Londra!
1863년. 아, 저게 이제 참가하겠다고
Curiosità.
적어 놓으면은 종이 다 떨어질 때까지 합니다.
Numero
아, 그래서 이렇게 길구나.
10.
큐리오시티. 처음 나오네.
La Francia è stata la prima
What was
nazione a
France
introdurre
the first
corsa
nation
delle
to
macchine.
Introduce
What was
in
France
the
the
cars.
first nation to introduce the cars? La France était la première nation à introduire qui dans la voiture. E Francia è stato il primo paese ad introdurre una cosa importante nel coche. Punteggio, vediamo il punteggio. 8
8 점짜리야?
8 points.
To introduce in the car.
La turbina nelle macchine, nella coche, nella car, nelle macchina. Voi dite in Francia, no? Ce le vedete sono di 8 punti,
뭔지 모르겠네 저거는.
L'airbag. L'answer is airbag. Oh, la risposta è airbag. Vámonos a ver. La
저 라이센스 플레이트.
Immatricolazione.
타르가.
La matricola.
라 마트리쿨라.
Va bene.
더
Va bene.
라이센스 플레이트.
E allora?
네 이렇게 해서 네 게임이
Un altro giro.
종료가
Altro
됐습니다.
giro, altra corsa.
또 뽑아? 네, 한 팀 더 있었습니다.
Va a scegliere il numero 5. Numero 5. Qual è il video più visto su YouTube? Which video was a more view on YouTube? Quelle è le video le più regardate su YouTube? Quelle è le video más visto en YouTube?
설마? BTS야 설마? 설마 BTS?
Alors, la réponse? Je ne sais pas. No? Ok. Allora, non sanno la risposta. Quindi passiamo adelante. Vamos a otra equipo, un'altra squadra. The second team, Millennial. Sapete voi la risposta? Su YouTube. Vediamo il punteggio, Alexa. Vamos a vedere il punteggio. 10 punti, ragazzi. Provate. Come? Gangnam Style.
No.
Balletto.
No. 강남 스타일 아니야.
10.
BTS가 이겼어.
Coreano. Sei sicuro? Aspetta che c'è un battibecco.
BTS.
Dice Despacito, la risposta è Despacito, Despacito.
Despacito. 아.
Vediamo. Oh, vale.
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark, ti aspettavi mai Baby Shark?
그렇구나.
Io sì, sai perché? Perché
아기
i
상어.
bimbi vedono sempre pesci. Ok, 10 punti persi. Andiamo avanti. Chateau, l'equipe Chateau.
또 합니다 또.
Che categoria? 8, 8,
디스코 댄스.
disco dance.
이건 또 뭐지?
Che dovete fare? Che voi dovete bailar. Vamos a bailar. Venite qua, vieni sì.
아 춤을 춰야 되는구나.
Toute l'équipe ici. Vous devez danser les disco dance. Les points. 10 points. 10 puntos.
노래 나오겠죠 이제 또.
Siamo pronti? Vous êtes prêts? Oui? Vámonos! Numero 10. Allora, quale cocktail si ottiene mischiando tequila, triple sec e succo di limone?
데킬라 레몬 주스.
What cocktail do we obtain if we mix tequila, trip sec and lemon juice? Cocktail on obtient si on mélange tequila, trip sec et sucre de limon. ¿Cómo se llama el cocktail que se obtiene mezclando tequila, trip sec y zumo de limón?
뭐더라? 마가리타인가. 마가리타 맞죠?
Non si deve. Vediamo il punteggio. 8 punti. 8 puntos. 8 punti. Dicono Margherita, adesso è Margherita. Margherita.
마가리타 맞죠?
Margherita! No, chi c'è?
또 무지카요.
9. Se puede el 9. Ok, aspetta che mi avvicino.
시 오페라 워스 커미션드.
Quale opera fu
Giuseppe
commissionata da Giuseppe Verdi per celebrare l'apertura del canale di Suez? Which opera was commissioned to Giuseppe Verdi to celebrate the opening of the Suez Canal?
스웨즈 캐널
Che
오픈할
opera di
때
Giuseppe
베르디가
Verdi fu all'origine del canale di Suez? Che opera fue originaria di Giuseppe Verdi para celebrar la apertura del canal de Suez?
어렵다. 근데 유럽 애들은
El
맞히겠지.
punteggio, vamos a ver el punteggio, 6 punti,
점짜리.
6 punti. La Traviata.
그렇지.
dicono la traviata.
Ah, non
La risposta è traviata.
La traviata,
A questa traviata.
Aidale.
Bravo, bravo, un applauso, bravissimo. Gracias Madrid por su impegno. Tri.
또 붙임.
I don't see nothing. Okay. In che anno è stata prodotta la prima bottiglia di Coca-Cola? In which year first bottle of Coca-Cola was to be produced? Dans quelle année
Bottle of
était
Coca-Cola 언제 됐냐?
la première bottiglia della Coca-Cola? In che anno si fabbricò la prima bottiglia di Coca-Cola?
1912년.
E il punteggio? 6 punti, 6 points. 6 puntos, 6 points.
1924년. 1936년.
1896. Proviamo?
대충 때려. 1936년.
1876? Oh!
27년이야. 그래도 비슷했죠? 그때입니다.
1927. 1927.
네, 그때였어요. 네.
Ok.
20세기 초였어요.
Fa niente. Dove stiamo? Prossimi.
히스토리.
Numero 1. Number 1. Chi fu il primo imperatore romano di origine non romana? Who was the first Roman emperor was not of Roman origin?
로마 황제가 누구였냐?
Che tra le primiere imperiodi che ne tappa l'originale romano? Chi fu il primo imperatore romano non
로마
venuto in
오리진이
Roma?
아닌 첫 번째 로마 황제 시정가?
Response? Aspetta che non sento.
시저.
Come? Romolo? Ah, punteggio, 2 punti. 2 punti. Romolo? Vuoi provare con Romolo? Proviamo Romolo. Vamos a provar Romolo. Le answers Romolo, le ponze Romolo. Traiano.
몰라요.
Ok,
이정밖에
prossima.
안 돼.
Let's carry on. Number
다시 히스토리입니다.
11. 11.
11.
Chi è stata l'unica donna primo ministro in Israele?
Prime Minister,
mamma mia.
누구야?
Who was Israel only woman prime minister?
어떻게 알아 이거?
Chi fu l'unica mujer primera ministro dell'Israele? Vediamo i punti. 10 punti.
10포인트인데 어렵다.
Gota Miglia. Gota Miglia. Vero.
맞췄네.
Bravo, 10 punti, te lo disco, vai. Eve.
진짜
L'ho già fatto 5, no? Di che colore è il liquore Midori? Which color was the liquor Midori? Di che colore è il liquor Midori? Di che colore è il liquor Midori?
예.
Vediamo i punti, vamos a vedere il punteggio. 10 punti, 10 point. Green,
야,
you're sure?
이건 뭐
Green.
영어랑 섞여 있네. 난 리코르라 그래서 뭔가 했더니
Green.
밑에가 술이야.
Partiamo con green, verde. Oh! Verde! Bravissima! Andiamo adelante! Metà, vamonos!
네, 진행이 점점 빨라지고 있죠.
Il 18 marzo del 1963 gli scienziati mandarono il primo gatto nello spazio. Da che paese provenivano gli scienziati? On Mars 18, 1963, scienziati sent the first cat into space. Which country did
Which country did the scientist
Il 18 marzo del
from?
1963 los científicos mandarono il primo gatto
Russia.
Da che paese proviene lo scientifico?
1963년 처음 원숭이 캣을
Punteggio, secondo me è alto.
네,
Ah,
이거는 러시아
2 punti.
소비에트 유니언
2 points. Questo è un blanco.
이거는 소련이죠.
Americani, dicono America.
아메리칸 아니야.
The answer is America. The response is America.
아니야, 캣 아니야. 아니야.
Americani o
프랑스야?
cosa ci aspettavamo?
미국이 아닌 건 알고 있었어요. 왜냐 내가
Francia,
테니스
Francia.
스페이스에서 갔기 때문에.
Vamos. Prossima.
Francia,
Ah, Toscana, salve. Categoria 12,
또
12.
히스토리야.
Quale nazione ha ospitato i mondiali di calcio
Ah,
nel
이건 1994?
1994?
미국이지.
Which country hosted the 1994 Soccer World Cup? E che paese del mondiale di football?
USA.
E il paese che paese dove sta?
저에게는 쉬운
Che paese
문제입니다.
accoglie
몇
il
점짜리냐?
Coupe del Mondo del Football di Smith? Perdiamo i punti. Vamos a vedere il punteggio. 8 punti, 8 points.
8점이나 돼 이게?
USA. USA.
USA.
USA. Oh.
유자라고 하네. 또 물음표입니다.
Anna, prima, uno.
1번. 빨리 가자. 락큰롤이야.
Di nuovo, rock and roll.
댄스.
Ah,
이거 하면 또
dovere
10점 주겠죠?
Sì, i danze, vamos a
이거는
danzare.
영상을 안 담습니다.
Vámonos. 8,
오,
with.
히스토리입니다. Which African country?
Di che paese africano fu il dittatore Idi Amin?
이디 아민
Which
거기잖아.
African country was
짐바브웨.
Idi Amin di dictator?
짐바브웨.
Ce l'hanno già? Mamma mia, Congo, ma non si sa. Congo.
이디 아민
vediamo.
짐바브웨.
4 punti.
짐바브웨.
E Congo?
에이, 콩고 아니야.
Uganda, non era baby Congo.
아 그래요?
Vamos.
나는 왜 짐바브웨로 알고 있지?
Finito! Ok, allora,
끝났습니다.
thank you so much for participating.
끝났습니다,
Grazie mille
드디어.
per aver partecipato.
cities in the world, believe me, Istanbul. Okay.
오늘은
So
이스탄불에
today we're
대해서
gonna do a short introduction to this city. We're
강의가
gonna
있습니다.
discover the most impressive mosques, mainly. Okay, but we will talk also about a history, the history of this city. So there we go. Istanbul, this city that which straddles 2 continents, as you know, Europe and Asia. A city founded as, for example, Rome on 7 hills overlooking, in this case, the sea and the Golden Horn. Istanbul, a city which remembers very well the distant days when it was called Byzantium. And the soul of this city has survived despite everything, to its immense mutations. Anyway, remember that in the year 1923, Istanbul lost its status as the capital in favor of Ankara, the current capital of Turkey. But Istanbul will forever remain the intellectual heart and the largest metropolis in Turkey. But we can also say that Istanbul, instead of being a city, is a sort of a passage, the famous Bosporus Strait. First and foremost, the Bosporus means an essential strategic location. The Bosporus position in red color, as well as the Dardanelles in yellow color, the Dardanelles, which is a second channel separated from the Bosporus by an inland sea, in this case the Sea of Marmara. So the possession of the Bosporus enables the control of maritime traffic between the Aegean Sea and the Pontus Euxinus, that is to say, between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea. And now let's talk about the foundation of this beautiful city. We can say that the ancient city of Byzantium was surrounded by walls with a total length of about 1 kilometer. The city was roughly reduced to the site where the Ottoman Topkapi Palace now stands in the environs of the magnificent Basilica of Santa Sofia, now, as you know, transformed into a mosque. And after its founding, we can say that the city very quickly became an important center of trade between, I repeat, the Black Sea and the Mediterranean countries. But, and this is very important, it will be the strategic interest of the site and not so much its own resources that made the fortune of the city of Byzantium, while, of course, at the same time attracting the aversion of other peoples. So, in the year 513 before Christ, the city of Byzantium was conquered by the Persian troops of King Darius the Great. Then, in the year 479 before Christ, the city falls again, but this time into the hands of this Spartan general and regent of the city-state, Pausanias. In the following years, Byzantium, as you can imagine, lived to the tune of the conflicts between Sparta and Athens, sometimes siding with the former and at other times with the latter. And as the Roman Empire extended its hegemony over the eastern Mediterranean, Byzantium will come, of course, like all Greece, under the tutelage of Rome. In the year 196 of our era, Septimius Severus came into conflict with the people of Byzantium. Thus, having been proclaimed emperor by the Danube army, Septimius Severus had to fight another pretender. In this case, Pescenio Nigro, supported by the city of Byzantium. So Septimius Severus besieged the city of Byzantium, putting it to the sword, and of course completely destroying it in the end. After this act, of course, of vengeance, we can say that Septimius Severus ordered the city to be rebuilt, giving this new urban agglomeration the name of Augusta Antonia, in honor of his son Marcus Aurelius Antoninus Augustus, better known by the nickname Caracalla, also a future emperor of Rome. As early as 324, the Roman Emperor Constantine traveled to the city of Augusta Antonia and decided to suddenly consecrate this city as the new imperial capital, renaming it Nova Roma, although history, as you know, has never remembered this name, but instead the name Constantinople. This new capital was inaugurated, to be precise, on May 11th, 330, and the Constantinian city had an area practically 4 times that of ancient Byzantium. Chroniclers of the time related that in the beginning, Emperor Constantine had chosen as a place to rebuild this city the land where the city of Chalcedon previously stood, that is to say, the Asian shore. But according always to legend, suddenly some eagles came and took away the masons' tools, carrying them to the other shore, carrying them to the European side. In fact, and this is very interesting, in a Byzantine heraldry, the double-headed eagle or double eagle represents the rule of the Roman emperors over Europe and Asia. What happened later? So, the emperor Constantine ordered the construction of a grand palace. A palace located where today we can find this beautiful mosque, okay, the Blue Mosque. We will talk later about this beautiful, this jewel of the city of Istanbul. And this new palace included several buildings and extended by means of a spectacular tribune which directly overlooked Septimius Severus Hippodrome. In fact, we can say that the ancient hippodrome is nothing more than that is to say, than the heart of today's Sultanahmet Square. And therefore, as you can imagine, it's really difficult to identify today the remains of this hippodrome. Anyway, we know that this hippodrome was built on a 400-meter long clearing bordering, I repeat, the current Blue Mosque, and it was the real true center of the old city of Constantinople, and the place, as you can imagine, where the games and chariot races were held. In the center of the track, as you can see on this image, stood statues and works of art that adorned this magnificent hippodrome. Today, we can anyway still find perfectly intact three elements of this ancient hippodrome. We find, first of all, this magnificent obelisk, the obelisk of Theodosius the Great, this magnificent Egyptian obelisk of Pharaoh Thutmose III from the city of Heliopolis, where it was erected around 1450 before Christ. The second element that has survived until now is this bronze serpent column. That is to say, what remains of the ancient Greek sacrificial tripod originally placed at Delphi. Delphi, this Greek city where was located the famous oracle. And the third and last element that has survived from those times until now is the walled obelisk, built in the 10th century by the Emperor Constantine VII, originally covered with gilded bronze plates, but unfortunately they were completely sacked by Latin troops in the Fourth Crusade. So three elements that you can see currently if you visit this Sultanahmet Square, okay? The imperial tribune of this hippodrome was topped, as you can see on this image, by a quadriga, by a chariot, which today is located where? I'm asking a question. Where do you think that this old chariot is located today? Venice, okay? Remember, this chariot is located on the Basilica of St. Marcus, St. Mark Basilica in Venice. The one which was located topped this tribune. Let's continue with the history of this beautiful city. The construction of the new city wall by Constantine the Great, which doubled practically the area of the city, was completed in 422 under Emperor Theodosius II. This is how walls of about 3,646 meters long, with a height of about 11 meters and a thickness of 5, run between the Sea of Marmara and the Golden Horn, reinforced by 96 towers. During the time of this emperor, during the time of Theodosius II, the city had an area of nearly 1,400 hectares and a perimeter of about 20 kilometers. This new city wall could hold up to 500,000 inhabitants instead of the 150,000 inhabitants that Constantine's wall could accommodate. And now, after this short introduction, let's go for a horizon tour of the city. Let's go now for a walk in the city. Let's go now to discover the most interesting, the most impressive mosques that you can find there. But we're gonna introduce also some church, But first of all, if you want to follow my advice, if you want to embrace the city of Istanbul with your eyes, the best thing to do after tomorrow is to climb the Galata Tower, okay? This stone tower from medieval times, built by the Genoese. Dominating the city from its practically 67 meters with an inner diameter of 9 meters in walls of about 4 meters thick. This magnificent tower rises about 140 meters above sea level and is located on the European shore. That is to say, on Avrupa. Avrupa is the Turkish word for Europe, okay? And to be precise, if you want to know where is located this beautiful Genoese tower, this tower is located in the district of Beyoğlu, the ancient district of Pera. Remember that in the Middle Ages, Pera was a colony, was a possession of the Republic of Genoa, a name, attention, that remained in use until the mid-20th century, that is, until the immigration of the neighborhood's Greek population. So you can call this area of the city Beyoğlu or Pera. Here, another beautiful picture of the Galata Tower, which rises above the Golden Horn, dividing the city of Istanbul in two. And the two banks of the Golden Horn are connected by this historic bridge, the Galata Bridge, that connects the historic center with the modern part of the city. As you can see, now we are talking about a bascule bridge, you know, a 490-meter long bridge built in 1845, full of life. I recommend to you to cross this bridge because you can breathe the most colorful atmosphere in the city. You can find there a lot of fishermen. And we are talking about a bridge which was reconstructed several times throughout its history. In front of the Galata Tower stretches the old city, and at the foot of the tower, Beyoğlu. I repeat, this district, the most modern and cosmopolitan district in the city of Istanbul. To the south, on the other bank of the Golden Horn, lies old Istanbul, which stretches over 7 hills and ends in the Sea of Marmara with this famous promontory, Sarayburnu, known in English as the Seraglio Point, on which the Topkapi Palace is located. So when we talk about the Topkapi Palace, we are talking about the Sultan's residence. The Sultan's residence, which was at one time not only the residence of the Ottoman Sultan, but also, and this is very important, the administrative center of the Ottoman Empire from the second half of the 15th century until practically 1856. The building, Topkapi Palace, consists of 3 large corridors. The first is this immense and lush garden, while the second is undoubtedly the most interesting and the most visited. It is right there where you will find, for example, the harem area, the place where it's located always, so the harem, as you know, the place where the Sultan and his wife and concubines lived, and also in this second courtyard, you will find the palace kitchens. These kitchens that had to feed more than 500 people every day. The third courtyard, on the other hand, is occupied by the audience chamber, also known as audience hall or chamber of petition. And also part of this third courtyard, you can find this immense library of Ahmed III. And a very important thing, if you are visiting Topkapi, if you are visiting precisely this third courtyard, remember that in this third courtyard are kept the main treasures of the empire. That is to say, the imperial treasury. And what can you see there? You can see a lot of things, a lot of jewels. But pay attention to this too. This famous spoon maker's diamond, okay, the story goes that it was found in a rubbish bin in Istanbul by a man who, completely unaware of its value, sold it to a street peddler in exchange for 3 wooden spoons. Okay? And it's not bad, this one, this beautiful Topkapi dagger, this spectacular jewel-studded dagger, a real gem from the mid-18th century. So the beautiful treasury of the Topkapi Palace, located, I repeat, in the third courtyard. We leave Topkapi, we continue our journey. As you can imagine, domes and minarets cover the southern shore of the Golden Horn of old Istanbul, forming a kind of sort of imperial crown, glittering with the setting of the sun. And we recognize on the first hill the famous Byzantine Basilica of Saint Sophia, Hagia Sophia. Today, as you know, a mosque. A basilica built in the 6th century and which remained during practically 700 years the largest religious building in all of Christendom. Next to this imposing basilica, in the outer courtyard of Topkapi Palace, lies the small Hagia Irene, that is Holy Peace, in Turkish Hagia Irini, sometimes known as Saint Irene, in English. Also, on the southern shore of the Golden Horn, we can enjoy the view of Sultan Ahmed's Mosque and its 6 minarets, popularly known as the Blue Mosque, one of the jewels of the city of Istanbul. Why this mosque is called in this way? Because of the fine interior decoration with Maiolica tiles on various shades of blue and turquoise. So, after tomorrow, if you want my advice, it would be a very good idea to visit this Blue Mosque. Don't misplace the interior of this spectacular mosque, consisting of more than 20,000 turquoise handmade ceramic tiles, and where you can find as well practically 50 different, you can find more than 200 stained glass windows with intricate designs. And also in the interior of this mosque you can find numerous crystal chandeliers. So we are talking about a real gem of Ottoman art. The construction of the Blue Mosque started in 1609 and completed in 1616. Its size is also remarkable, despite the fact, and this is important, that its dome measures only half the size of Hagia Sophia's, okay? At any rate, its grandeur, we can say, is evidenced by the presence of as many as 6 minarets. The construction of these 6 minarets cost a great stir in a Muslim society. Why? Because the number of minarets was equal to those of the Holy Mosque of Mecca. This impressive mosque located, as you know, in Saudi Arabia. This Mecca mosque, which in response added a 7th minaret to its mosque. I repeated that the Mosque of Mecca is the largest mosque in the world and surrounds Islam's holiest site, the famous Kaaba. Let's continue. In the foreground, across the Galata Bridge, stands the Yeni Yami, or New Mosque, that you can visit with some of the tours proposed here on board. This mosque dates back to the 18th century and certainly is one of the most harmonious in the city. Immediately behind is the Nurosmani Jami, that is to say the Nurosmani Mosque, meaning the light of Osman, okay? But also this mosque receives this name because of the 174 windows which illuminate the mosque hall. A mosque also dating back to the 18th century and considered one of the finest examples of Ottoman Baroque architecture. And pay attention to this picture. At the bottom of this image, you can make out the Nurosmaniye Mosque, we just mentioned, and you can also see the domes of Grand Bazaar, one of the oldest markets in the world, whose visit is undoubtedly the best way if you want to breathe the most colorful atmosphere in the city. Its huge extension covers, attention, a total area of 30,700 square meters, attracting between 250,000 and 400,000 visitors daily. It is in fact a veritable city within a city. It's a huge space. A market built, to be precise, in 1455 by Mehmet II. And this Istanbul Grand Bazaar has more than 3,600 shops, which are spread out over 64 streets, and there are 22 different gates which gave access to the market. So it's really easy to get lost inside this bazaar. You have to pay attention. But a very important thing, don't confuse, please, don't confuse this market I have just told you about with this other market, the Spice Bazaar. In Turkish, Mizir Jashishi, meaning Egyptian Bazaar. This bazaar, this Egyptian bazaar, is located in the Eminonu quarter of the Fatih district. So we are talking about two different markets. In this Egyptian market, you can find only a total of 85 shops selling mainly spices, but also you can find inside Turkish delight, sweets, jewelry, souvenirs, dry fruits, etc., etc. And why this name? Why the Egyptian Bazaar? The name of the bazaar comes from the time when Istanbul was the final point on the Silk Road, as well as the center of distribution throughout Europe. Istanbul, which practically trade spices with Venice as early as the 13th century. So during the 15th century, we can say that the spices from India and Southeast Asia to Egypt, and from there, from Egypt, crossed the Mediterranean Sea to the city of Istanbul. This is the reason of this name. But let's come back to the Grand Bazaar, because a very nearby mosque is this one of Bayezid II, which was the second large imperial mosque complex to be erected in Istanbul after the conquest in 1453. And let me open now a short, small parenthesis to talk about this beautiful church. This is a former church, a church which was transformed, of course, into a mosque with the arrival of the Ottomans, and now we are talking about a very interesting museum. This marble is the Church of the Holy Savior in Kora, now turned into a museum. This church, this former church, is considered one of the most important Byzantine testimonies in the world. A church built between 1316 and 1321. Why you have to visit this former church? Why? Because inside you will find mosaics and find Byzantine frescoes. In fact, remember that under Ottoman rule, this church was turned into a mosque, but the works were covered with plaster. This fact has thus allowed the masterpieces to remain practically virtually intact, to the present day. So if you want to see some beautiful Byzantine mosaics, this is the right place. I repeat, the church, the former church of Saint Savior in Kora. But let's come back to the mosque. Dominating the third hill, we find the Mosque of Suleiman the Magnificent, built between 1550 and 1557. A mosque much better known simply as Suleymaniye. Suleiman the Magnificent, as you surely know, was one of the greatest and most well-known Ottoman rulers, sultans, and he commissioned this building, this spectacular building, to a very famous imperial architect of that time. I'm talking about Mimar Sinan, a contemporary, for example, of Michelangelo and Palladio. Mimar Sinan, who was responsible for the construction, or at least for the supervision of the most important buildings in the Ottoman Empire. This is a very important figure in the history of Ottoman art. I repeat, Mimar Sinan, a sort of Michelangelo in Turkey. So if you visit this mosque, the Mosque of Suleiman the Magnificent, you will be impressed, of course, by its grandeur, no? And you will be impressed, of course, also by the beautiful view from the 10 terraces on top of the 4 minarets. And before leaving this Mosque of Soliman, don't forget to visit the 2 separate mausoleums, one of Sultan Suleiman and the other one of his wife Roxelana. Okay, so a lot of things to see if you visit after tomorrow the Mosque of Suleiman the Magnificent. Practically behind the Suleiman Mosque we find another mosque, in this case the Zezad Mosque, also known as the Prince Mosque. And why this name? Why? Because this mosque was commissioned by Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in memory of his eldest son, the Prince Mehmed, who unfortunately died of smallpox at the age of 21 in 1543. Although, it's true, some historians lean towards a different cause. And that was Sinan's first important imperial commission and was completed in the year 1548. Not very far away from this mosque, we can find this beautiful aqueduct, the aqueduct of Valence, which was the main water supply system in the late ancient and medieval period for the city of Constantinople, and which fed the famous Basilica cistern, that is to say the largest of several hundred ancient cisterns that lie beneath the city of Istanbul. A cistern built in the year 532 by Emperor Justinian I during the most glorious, during the most prosperous time period of the Eastern Roman Empire. So remember, a very important monument in the city, the Aqueduct of Valence. But beyond this aqueduct, on the crest of the hill, stands the Fatih Mosque. The Fatih Mosque was a religious and social building of, we can say, unprecedented size and complexity. A complex built in Istanbul between 1463 and 1470 by order of one of the most important figures in the history of this country, of course, Mehmed II, the Sultan who conquered the city of Constantinople in the year 1453. Rebuilt after being destroyed, completely destroyed by an earthquake in the year 1766, it is the first major Turkish Islamic work in Istanbul and represented an important stage in the development of Ottoman architecture. But if we had to choose just one monument that symbolizes the city, of course, this monument would be certainly Saint Sophia. The Holy Wisdom, or Hagia Sophia, stands in the area where another church of the same name once stood. An ancient church built by Emperor Constantine in 325, but destroyed completely by fire. Rebuilt by Emperor Theodosius II in 415, this second church was again reduced to nothingness by another fire, in this case in the 6th century. Justinian I, this great emperor, wanted to rebuild later on the same site a much more beautiful and a much more impressive church. So to justify this costly decision that risked seriously endangering the empire's economy, Justinian claimed to have received the money and the construction plans from the hands of an angel. Actually, as you can imagine, Justinian appointed two terrestrian architects. One, the mathematician Anthemius of Tralles, the other one, the geometer and engineer Isidore of Miletus. They will be the two most important person to design and repeat this third model of Hagia Sophia. So imagine more than 10,000 people were employed during the construction process, and to be precise, on 27th December 537, 5 years and 10 months after construction started, Justinian and his spouse, the Empress Theodora, inaugurated the new basilica with, of course, much pomp. The Emperor Justinian, completely marveling at the beauty of the final result, thanked God and expressed his satisfaction by proclaiming the following phrase: "Glory to God who has judged me worthy of accomplishing such a work as this." And alluding to the famous Temple of Jerusalem, Justinian added, "O Solomon, I have surpassed you." As you probably know, to understand the grandeur of this building, remember that this Basilica of Santa Sofia remained the world's largest cathedral for nearly 1,000 years, until Seville Cathedral in Spain was completed in the year 1520. Later, as you know, in 1626, St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican would be completed, so this is the current biggest religious complex, no? So in 1453, we can say that after the conquest of the city of Constantinople, Sultan Mehmed II ordered to convert the church, the Christian church, into a mosque. And a minaret was also erected on the southwest corner of the building. I remind you that a minaret is this sort of tower which is generally used to project the Muslim call to prayer. And Mehmed II also ordered the construction to add a mihrab. In this case, here in the center of the image, a mihrab is a niche in the wall of a mosque that indicates the Qibla, that is to say, the direction of the Kaaba in Mecca, towards which Muslims should face when praying, no? And modification. 3 more minarets were raised later by Sultans Bayezid II and Selim II, and during Suleiman's reign, we can say that the mosaics above the narthex, when we talk about a narthex, we are talking about a sort of antechamber at the western entrance of an early Christian church. So all the mosaics above the narthex and above the imperial gates depicting Jesus, Mary, and various Byzantine emperors were covered, as you can imagine, by whitewash and plaster. In the 19th century, verses from the Holy Quran were engraved around this magnificent dome, and 8 new gigantic circular framed discs were hung from the cornice, painted with the name of Allah, Muhammad, the first 4 caliphs, that is to say Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, and also the 2 grandsons of Muhammad, that is to say Hassan and Hussein. In 1935, the first Turkish president and founder of the Republic of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, transformed the building, transformed Hagia Sophia into a museum. Many mosaics were uncovered in the 1930s by this team, this American team from the Byzantine Institute of America, and the American team chose to let a number of sample cross images remain covered by plaster, but uncovered all major mosaics found. This American team who made a real excellent work. And the most recent history about this building, probably you know, in March 2019, Erdogan said that he would change the status of Hagia Sophia, no, from a museum to a mosque, adding that it had been a very big mistake to turn it into a museum. So on 10th July 2020, the decision of the Council of Ministers to transform the Hagia Sophia into a museum was annulled by the Council of State. despite secular and global criticism, we can say that Erdogan signed a decree annulling the Hagia Sophia's museum status and reverting it to a mosque. And on July 24th, thousands of people flocked to Istanbul's Hagia Sophia for the first Friday prayers at the site. This is the most recent history of this beautiful building. I repeat, first of all a basilica, then in 1453, after the conquest of Mehmet II, transformed into a mosque, then in 1935 transformed into a museum by decision of Ataturk, and since 2020 again a mosque. This is the reason why now the visit is a little more complicated. Practically all the mosaics are covered, okay, by a curtain. Okay, so this is all. We have arrived to the end of this short introduction to Istanbul. I'm sorry for my English, it's not my first language. Anyway, if you are interested, after tomorrow, we will talk after tomorrow after.
Dopo le risposte, one moment, a moment, vediamo le domande perché abbiamo varie risposte. Quindi, cos'è il whisky? What is the whisky? Che è il whisky? Qu'est-ce que le whisky? Qu'est-ce que c'est le whisky? Was ist die whisky? Siete pronti? Ready? Regia, sei pronta? 3, 2, 1, vai! No. Ma se non c'è la risposta? Is a distillate alcohol produced from? Una bevanda alcolica distillata prodotta da. Boisson alcoolisée distillée obtenue à partir de. Bebida alcolica distillata producida a partir de. Distillate alcoholic in Getränke aus. A, B o C? Risposta! Mi sa che sono stati loro, giusto? Mi confermate? E allora, vediamo un po'. Come ti chiami, da dove vieni? What's your name, where are you from? Come ti tocca, ti viene, who vieni, where comes tu? Come ti chiami, da dove vienes? Anch'io, da dove? Wow, e allora, come ti chiami? Come ti chiami? E allora, Sergio dall'Italia Puglia. Sergio, A, B o C o D? Perché? Why is letter A? Pourquoi c'est la lettre A? Perché? Warum? È un whisky.
Distillato di cereali.
E signore e signori, la risposta è esatta, corretta. Allora, Sergio, vieni qua, come Joshua, we have the winner of the contest. Volevo salutare allora del contest.
맞춘 사람이 절로 갑니다.
parte di Joshua.
와, 저거 주네.
Guardate anche la tua equipe d'animazione, foto, aspetta la foto, vieni, Joshua, fammi foto per Instagram, E adesso siamo contenti. Facci sapere com'è, assaggialo, taste it, pruébalo. A ver, ¿cómo es? ¿Te gusta? Ti piace? Do you like it? Vamos, everybody! Questa cosa non potete fare nei vostri bar, perché non vi innamorare, right? Quindi ricordatevi, remember, don't forget, n'oubliez pas, non servire Scottish Mojito. Potete provarlo in tutti i nostri bar. Ma non è finita, it's not finished, we have other prizes. E allora andiamo avanti regia con la domanda numero 2. What's the minimum age for a Scotch whisky? Che età minima di invecchiamento ha il whisky? Quel age minimum pour un Scotch whisky? Quantos años a pesar de mínimo para un whisky escocés? Was ist die Mindeststelle für einen Scotch whisky? Vamos con le risposte. Ragazzi, attenzione, guardate, looky, cooking, regia, risposte a parte. A, B, C o D? Sono stata la signora, la madame. Secondo se perché la lettera A, B, C o D? La lettera B? Oh, sì, oui madame! Applauso! E allora? attends, confusion. Quelle ville? Et comment vous m'appelez? Martine. Et vous venez? Martine. Je comprends pas. Aiuto! Alors, de la France, Madame Martine de Martine. Alors, Madame, venez, approchez-vous, vieni, calme. Pour vous, Madame, on a un prix spécial de l'équipe d'animation. Vediamo con la nostra Federica cosa ti dà. Madame, parce que vous êtes française,
이것저것
la tête. Voilà! Merci à vous. Attenzione, ne abbiamo un altro. We are another one, on hai un altro. Tenemos una más, hay another. Regia domanda. Which kind of whiskey is the
Dewar's.
worst? Che
제일
tipo di
좋아하는
whisky è il
거다.
worst? Che tipo di whisky è il the worst? Che tipo di whisky è il the
근데
worst?
모르고 좋아했어요.
Which
Dewar's.
hard form whisky is the worst? Vediamo le risposte di Alborte. La risposta
싱글 몰트 블렌디드
è single malt, blended scotch, bourbon whisky, Irish whisky. Questa è difficile. This one is...
블렌디드 아니야?
Attenzione!
B.
La signora ha alzato la mano. Madame, what's your name? Where are you from? From France. Marie de la France. Alors Marie, pour toi c'est laquelle? La lettre A, B, C ou D?
네.
La B. Vediamo un po'. Maria ha detto la B, the B. Vediamo. Ed è giusta! Risposta corretta! Bravo, Madame Maria Nord. Approchez-vous, venez ici. Parce qu'on a un autre cadeau, vediamo un po'. Federica, cosa vince la nostra Maria? Oh! Un aperitivo, è il sushi. Allora, je viens avec vous, vengo con te, I will come with you. E un aperitivo in our sushi, perché oggi stamattina in piscina abbiamo fatto la Sushi Academy e non ve lo perdete. Aperto sia pranzo che cena il nostro fantastico sushi. Don't miss it, open and lunch and dinner is just here. Taste it because it's very good. Et si vous n'avez pas encore mangé les sushis, essayez-le, ça se trouve jusqu'ici, le verre pour le déjeuner et pour le dîner, c'est hyper bon et pas cher. Si nunca han probado nuestro sushi, lo pueden hacer, se encuentra justo aquí. Para el almuerzo, para la cena es excepcional y no está tan caro, así que pruébenlo. So, Sie muss essen in unserem Sushi, das ist hier in Mittagessen und Abendessen, das ist super. Ma abbiamo l'ultima, the last one, di già, mamma mia. Allora, signore e signori, l'ultima, the last one, la dernière di l'Est, la ultima regia domanda. Why the world is a double age? Perché The World ha un doppio invecchiamento? Per quale The World è il double age? Perché The World tiene doble envejamiento? Warum ist The World doppelt gealtert? E allora, pronti con le risposte? Ready with the answer? Lista para la risposta? Le réponses di Antworten? Vai regia. Sono stati in meno di un nanosecondo. Vediamo un po' se avete la risposta esatta. Innanzitutto, come vi chiamate, da dove venite se avete alzato insieme? Insieme, sincronizziamoci. Io dico 1, 2, 3, voi rispondete. Napoli, Italia. Come vi chiamate? Luigi e Martina dall'Italia. Allora, Luigi e Martina, A, B, C o D? La lettera A.
그런가?
For extra flavor, per un gusto extra. O per un extra smoothies, o for just for fun, o for an extra color. E la risposta A, the answer A, la risposta A è sbagliata. Gna. Un'altra chance, one more chance. Là dietro, lui. Come ti chiami, da dove vieni? What's your name, where are you from? Giuseppe da? Wow, Giuseppe da Bari, Italia. Allora Giuseppe, A, B, C o D? La lettera B, vediamo, per un extra smoothness, per una maggior morbidezza, dusura, para suavidad, para un extra glatte. Ed è la risposta corretta, the correct answer, correct. E allora, anche l'ultimo premio va via, vediamo.
먹어봐서 알아요.
Cosa ti darà la nostra
이렇게
Federica?
해서
Buon Federica,
문제가
buon
끝났습니다.
Oh, street food, wow, hamburger, focaccia, il nostro ponte numero 9, so it won a street food in our deck 9. Il Lagarnier a street food o deck numero 9, il nostro deck 9 è il nostro ponte 9.